Hi, my name is Ifan, and I'm a PhD student here at School of Information Studies at UW Milwaukee. I got my bachelor degree of Information Resources Management from China, and after that, I had my master's degree of Library and Information Science from UW Madison. And now I'm in my second year of my PhD program, and my research interest is mainly focusing on information retrieval and information seeking behavior. So today I'm going to give an introduction about information needs and user behavior. Since me myself is also a student trying to learn just like you guys, so I'm not planning to teach you anything. Instead, this week's content is more like a sharing presentation about my understanding towards information needs and user behavior. My hope is that this introduction could trigger your interests as well as further thoughts regarding this topic. I would be more than excited to discuss any related ideas with you if any of you would like to. Okay, now let's follow cases logic by starting with the term information needs. But before that, let's talk about information itself first. It is difficult to find the most accurate definition for the term information, despite of its existence for over thousands of years. Today, many of our information users are even not able to recognize the differences among data, information, and knowledge, and that has created the original challenges for information seeking activities among these people. Since information itself is invisible, the first two questions for both information professionals and users to figure out are what really exists and what are people actually looking for. When information was regarded as a resource in the past, it was not yet clear enough to tell if information as well as the needs towards it from the public domain have obvious differences from chasing for other resources like oil and gas. However, about 10 years ago, some researchers started to take information as a commodity and put the whole information related activities into the environment of commodification. The characteristics and problems of information suddenly became easier to understand. On one side, unlike other resources or commodities, the access of information is much more flexible, yet complicated to be reached due to its abstract. On the other side, people looking for information usually have a great number of challenges to precisely describe their needs. Seeking for information is not like simply saying, I would like a donut or a glass of soda. Instead, it is fairly hard because one can never guarantee that there will be exact result existing that could perfectly fit into a query, and users always have to keep refining their terms until the best information is found. Hence, the process of information seeking is a journey full of ongoing matching and negotiation. Being aware of this fact for me is the start of exploring people's information needs and behaviors. In Case's chapter, he is more discussing about information needs at a conceptual level, and his first two types of needs seem not that difficult to understand. But some of you might be confused with the third thought making sense. So before I relate these previous ideas to the real-world practice, I would like to introduce Durbin's sense-making theory to you, since it provides a great framework to describe and think about the process of using information. Okay, so Durbin's sense-making theory is implemented in terms of four constituent elements: a situation in time and space, which defines the context in which information problems arise, and a gap, which identifies the difference between the conceptual situation and the desired situation, and an outcome, that is, the consequences of the sense-making process, and a bridge, that is, some means of closing the gap between situation and outcome. Dervin presents these elements in terms of a triangle, so here we can see a situation, a gap, an outcome, and the bridge linking them. But some other research also posted this modified sense-making framework so that the bridge metaphor could be better used and be shown more directly. The strength of Dervin's model lies partly in its methodological consequences, since in relation to information behavior, it can lead to a way of questioning that can reveal the nature of a problematic situation, the extent to which information serves to bridge the gap of uncertainty, confusion, or whatever, and the nature of the outcomes from the use of information. Besides the types of needs introduced by Case, we can also classify information needs in some other ways. For example, from the perspective of information retrieval, previous studies have divided information needs into intrinsic and extrinsic according to users' desire towards the search system. The extrinsic information needs fit more into cases seeking answers and reducing uncertainty, since such needs usually have a specific target, and users with that sort of desire always choose to use a search engine and seek information through search queries. On the other hand, the intrinsic information needs refer to the idea of scanning information with interest. This type of users have no predetermined goals in their information-seeking activities. Hence, they always prefer a browsing system such as Yahoo to look for information. Similarly, information needs could also be classified based on the environmental context, such as academic, everyday life, health, etc., etc., as well as user groups such as kids, teenagers, elderly people, pregnant women, blind users, etc., etc. In real practice, it is fairly important to detect the differences among these various contexts or user groups, and we will discuss this in a while when we talk about the corresponding information-seeking behaviors later. Now let's move to information behavior part. In 1999, Wilson posted a nested model to explain the relationship among information behavior, information-seeking behavior, and information search behavior in order to draw the line for various areas of research within the general field of information behavior. In his model, he suggests that information behavior may be defined as the more general field of investigation, with information-seeking behavior being seen as a subset of the field, particularly concerned with the variety of methods people employ to discover and gain access to information resources, and information-searching behavior being defined as a subset of information-seeking, particularly concerned with the interactions between information user and computer-based information systems. In this week's slides, we will focus on the seeking behavior only because it is the most popular area within the field and a lot of previous research has been done regarding it, and I will introduce a couple models that are the most famous in this area in the following slides. First, let's start with Wilson's model posted in 1981. The model suggests that information-seeking behavior arises as a consequence of a need perceived by an information user, who, in order to satisfy that need, makes demands upon formal or informal information sources or services, which result in success or failure to find relevant information. If successful, the individual then makes use of the information found and may either fully or partially satisfy the perceived need, or, indeed, fail to satisfy the need and have to reiterate the search process. The model also shows that part of the information-seeking behavior may involve other people through information exchange, and that information perceived as useful may be passed to other people, as well as being used by the person himself or herself. This model kind of shows the information flow between information and information users. It explains the process of how users start with the need of information till his or her seeking behavior is over. The route information is transmitted here is quite clear and easy to understand. Okay, then let's take a look at another type of information-seeking behavior model, which mainly follows a time sequence posted by Ellis and Kuthel. So Ellis's elaboration of the different behaviors involved in information seeking is not set out as a diagrammatic model originally, and Ellis makes no claim to the effect that the different behaviors constitute a single set of stages. Indeed, he uses the term features rather than stages, and these features include, first, starting, which refers to the means employed by the user to begin seeking information, for example, asking some knowledgeable colleagues, and chaining, which means following footnotes and citations in non-material, or forward chaining from non-items through citation indexes, and browsing, which refers to semi-directed or semi-structured searching, and differentiating, which refers to using non-differences in information sources as a way of filtering the amount of information obtained, and monitoring, which means keeping up-to-date or current awareness searching, and extracting, which means selectively identifying relevant material in an information source, and verifying, which refers to checking the accuracy of the information, and finally ending, which refers to the content that may be defined as tying up loose ends through a final search. The strength of Ellis's model, as well as Kuthel's, which we will discuss a little bit later, is that it is based on empirical research and has been tested in subsequent studies, such as an engineering company. And of the features, Ellis notes that the detailed interrelation or interaction of the features in any individual information-seeking pattern will depend on the unique circumstances of the information-seeking activities of the person connected at that particular point in time. However, in the later research, Wilson pointed out that it is clear that starting must initiate a process and that ending must end it. It also seems reasonable to suggest that verifying is a penultimate stage in a process and that extracting must follow on from a specific search behavior such as browsing. Indeed, drawing attention to this fact leads to the conclusion that extracting is not an information behavior of the same kind as browsing or chaining or monitoring, and further suggests that differentiating is also a different kind of behavior. Browsing, chaining, and monitoring are search procedures, whereas differentiating is a filtering process, and extracting may be seen as an action performed on the information resource. Moreover, the remaining behaviors do not necessarily take place in a specific sequence and may be initiated in different sequences at different times in the overall search process. Ellis's account, therefore, in terms of the different kinds of features it embodies, appears to sit between the micro-analysis of search behavior and a more macro-analysis of information behavior generally. Based on these points, Wilson later pointed out another diagrammatic presentation for Ellis's model to better represent Ellis's features. On the other hand, Kuthel's work complements that of Ellis by attaching to stages of the information-seeking process the associated feelings, thoughts, and actions, and the appropriate information tasks. The stages of Kuthel's model are initiation, selection, exploration, formulation, collection, and presentation. As an example, The initiation phase of the process is said to be characterized by feelings of uncertainty, vague and general thoughts about the problem area, and is associated with seeking background information. The appropriate task at this point is simply to recognize a need for information. It seems that Kuthau's model is thus more general than that of Ellis in drawing attention to the feelings associated with the various stages of activities. In effect, what Kuthau postulates here is a process of the gradual refinement of the problem area, with information searching of one kind or another going on while that refinement takes place. Therefore, a successive search process is implicit in Kuthau's analysis of the search activity. It is interesting to explore whether Ellis and Kuthau's models may be brought together, so Wilson attempted to draw a diagram where his representation of Ellis's categories is accompanied by the stages of Kuthau. Through this merger of the two models, we can see strong similarities, and the major difference appears to be that Ellis specifies the modes of exploration or investigation. The point must be reiterated, however, that Ellis does not present his characteristics as stages, but as elements of behavior that may occur in different sequences with different persons, or with the same person at different times. Therefore, the two models are fundamentally opposed in the minds of the authors. Kuthau persists stages on the basis of her analysis of behavior, while Ellis suggests that the sequence of behavior characteristics may vary. Following the idea of these models, let's get back to focus on the real-life practice again. Unlike what we did to analyze information needs, the study towards information-seeking behavior usually combines various aspects together. The reason behind that is that you could always easily find some sort of a relationship among the context, the seeking methods, and the user groups. For instance, in academic information-seeking activities, the query search is found to be the primary seeking method. Why is that? Mostly because of two reasons. From the aspect of the context, the information needs within the academic area are usually with specific requirements, such as titles, subjects, and author names. From the aspect of user groups, the majority of academic search include college students and faculties, who are considered to be users with higher information literacy as well as information-seeking skills. Therefore, research focusing on information needs and user behaviors has a wide range of objects, surroundings, as well as the process, which makes the field full of possibilities. Knowing all these models and theories will not force you to be a further PhD student like me, but I believe that they are helpful in leading you to start thinking about our discipline, our future occupation, and our future patrons. For those of you who are planning to work in a library in the future, the information displayed here today will assist you in getting familiar with your library patrons. According to the user groups they belong to, you will better detect questions such as what do they need, what seeking behavior patterns they usually have, and so on. More importantly, as the feedback, your experiences, observations, and reflections will also help other colleagues and researchers to better know every specific user. Finally, there are a couple of examples in our real life that I thought might serve as great topics for us to think further about application of knowledge regarding information needs and user behaviors. The first is the recommendation system, which has offered a widely adopted solution to the problem of information overload to all the Internet users by helping them in their decision-making process in nearly everyday lives. The ultimate goal of recommendation system is to predict people's future information needs or preferences. Here, Amazon's recommendation services is a great example of such approaches. The general operation mechanism of current recommendation system are introduced by some researchers as conducting observation and analysis towards users' online information behaviors, such as search history, cookies, and expressed feedback, so that highly personalized suggestions based on specific interests, opinions, and habits could be generated. However, doing so might have blocked users from experiencing novelty and surprise in the provided suggestions. Currently, the recommendation system is mainly utilized for commercial reasons. The most important issue that needs attention is to figure out the specific timing when users start trying to transfer from their original information needs to new explorations during their usage, instead of restricting them within the unchangeable topics. Related to that, another interesting topic that could be discussed here is the filter bubble issue. This could be linked with the TED Talk provided in this week's content, and the idea of filter bubble was actually even published earlier. The concept filter bubble was coined by Ali Prazer in 2011 to refer to the concern that the self-reinforcing pattern created by personalized information-seeking process might narrow users' exposure to diverse information resources, thus reducing users' creativity, connecting, and studying among each other. And most importantly, the filter bubble is being produced without users' awareness. Here, I've put up another TED Talk link of Ali Prazer's introduction. Please feel free to take a look at it and try to connect it with information needs and seeking behaviors we've discussed today. At the end of this introduction, I've also put some articles that I thought might be helpful to better getting familiar with this week's topic. Please feel free to take a look if you are interested in obtaining further information. And here I want to thank you all very much for watching this video, and you are very welcome to reach me through email if you have any question regarding these slides. Thank you and have a nice week.